The crash and the creature. The storm was loud. Fire and metal filled the sky. A human dropship flew low through the clouds, trying to escape enemy fire. Inside, Soldier Ryan held onto his seat. His face was bruised, his arm was bleeding, but his mind was sharp. Mayday. Mayday, the pilot shouted, but the radio only gave static. Then came the hit. A direct blast to the engine. Alarms screamed. The dropship spun out of control, heading straight for a jungle-covered planet below. Everything went dark. When Ryan woke up, the ship was broken in half. Smoke floated into the air. Sparks flew from shattered machines. Bodies of his team members were still and silent. He was the only one alive. His head hurt. His legs shook. But he knew he had to move. He grabbed a small bag, a med kit, and a laser knife. No signal on his comm. No sign of help. Just thick trees and strange animal sounds. In the distance, great, he muttered. Stranded on an alien planet. Hours passed. Ryan moved through the jungle, careful and quiet. The plants were tall and glowing blue. Strange birds flew above. He stopped near a river to clean his wounds. Just as he finished, he heard something. Growling. Deep and close. He turned fast, laser knife in hand. From behind a tree it came, huge, four-legged, covered in dark scales, eyes glowing gold. It was an apex hunter. Stories said they were the deadliest beasts in the galaxy. Fast, smart, and unstoppable. But this one was limping. Blood ran down its side. Its breathing was heavy. It growled again but didn't attack. Ryan stared at the beast. It stared back. He could run, he could hide, or he could help. He took a slow step forward, hands raised. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said softly. The apex hunter didn't move. Ryan knelt down and opened his med kit. Slowly, carefully, he showed the creature a small healing spray. The beast growled low, but didn't back away. "You're hurt. Let me help." To his surprise, the creature lowered its body and allowed him to come closer. Ryan cleaned the wound, sealed it with the spray and wrapped it with a bandage. His hands shook, but he stayed calm. The apex didn't move. Just watched him. "There," Ryan said, standing up. "You'll live." He turned to leave, thinking the moment was over. But when he looked back, the creature was following him. By nightfall, Ryan found a small cave. He built a fire using broken tech pieces and dry leaves. The apex hunter lay near the entrance, watching the jungle. It didn't try to eat him. It didn't growl anymore. They sat in silence, human and beast staring into the fire. "I'll call you Karn," Ryan said, smiling slightly. "You look like a Karn." The beast blinked once. A quiet sound came from its throat. Not a growl, but something else. Maybe agreement. Ryan leaned against the wall, tired and sore. The stars outside were unfamiliar. No moon, just a sky full of small red lights. He looked at Karn. "Why didn't you attack me?" he asked quietly. No answer, of course. Just the sound of wind and fire. But deep in Ryan's gut, he felt something strange. A connection. Something about this creature wasn't wild. It felt intelligent, maybe more than intelligent. He closed his eyes. In the middle of the night, Ryan woke up to a noise outside. Sharp movement. He reached for his knife, but before he could move, Karn was already standing, growling deep and loud. Something was out there, watching. A shadow moved between the trees. Glowing eyes. But then it stopped. Karn took a step forward, and whatever it was, ran away. Karn returned to the cave and lay down again. Ryan stared at him. "You just saved me." Again, no answer. Just silence. But this time, Ryan didn't feel alone. In the morning, they moved together. The jungle was still dangerous, but Ryan no longer walked in fear. Karn walked beside him, alert and ready. No longer a beast, but something more. As they walked, Ryan noticed strange marks on the trees, old symbols, carved deep and glowing faintly. He didn't understand them, but something about them felt ancient, important. He touched one, and then he heard a voice, soft, not in his ears, but in his mind. Find me. He looked at Karn. The creature was already staring at him. Something was coming, something bigger than he expected, and the creature he saved might be the only reason he survives. Unlikely alliance, the jungle, was alive with sound, distant roars, rustling leaves, and the low hum of strange flying creatures above the trees. Rayan walked carefully, his boots pressing into the soft, glowing moss. Beside him moved the apex hunter Karn, silent, alert, powerful. Every time Rayan glanced at Karn, he felt the same strange feeling. Not fear, not quite trust, but something in between. Karn had saved his life, not once, but twice now, and he followed Rayan not like a pet, but like a soldier walking beside a commander. For hours they walked, heading west where the sun fell low in the sky. Rayan had one goal now: survival. Maybe even escape. But in the back of his mind, one question repeated again and again. Why was an apex hunter alone on this planet? And why didn't it kill him? As the sky turned purple, they stopped to rest near a waterfall. The air was warm and steam rose from the water. Rayan checked his comm again. Still dead. No signal. No help. Still no way off this rock, he muttered. Karn drank from the water. Suddenly his ears twitched. He stood tall, eyes locked on something in the trees. Rayan froze. Karn growled, a low warning sound. Then Rayan saw it. 3 glowing red eyes, watching from the branches. Not an animal, not human. Something else. A scout drone. It clicked and beeped as it hovered down. Before Rayan could react, Karn leaped through the air and slammed it to the ground with a roar. Metal cracked under his claws. Sparks flew. Rayan ran. Over. The drone was broken but still blinking. Military tech, he whispered. Not human, but definitely not local. He looked at Karn. We're being watched. Karn growled again and turned in a slow circle, sniffing the air. They weren't alone. That night they camped inside a hollow tree as wide as a room. The wood glowed faint blue from within, and it was quiet. Too quiet, Rayan couldn't sleep. His mind kept returning to the strange voice he had heard the night before. Find me. Was it a dream? A memory? Or something deeper? As he stared at the ceiling of the tree, he heard a noise, but not outside. This time, it was inside his mind again. Clearer. Stronger. A voice. Female. Soft, but full of pain. He is near. The last protector. He remembers. Rayan sat up. Who are you? He whispered. No reply. Only silence. But when he looked down, he saw Karn, wide awake, staring at him. And for a moment Rayan could swear he saw something in the creature's golden eyes. Recognition. The next morning, they followed the river deeper into the jungle. The air grew thicker. Vines hung low. The trees grew taller, blocking the sky. Soon, they found something unexpected, an old stone gate half buried in moss. Strange symbols were carved into it, the same ones Rayan had seen before. Karn walked ahead and stopped. He sniffed the air, then looked back at Rayan. Then, without warning, he pushed the stone wall with his claw. A hidden door opened. Inside was darkness. Rayan hesitated, but the voice returned again. You are close. Hurry. He followed. They walked through a tunnel made of ancient metal, glowing with strange blue light. After several turns, they entered a large underground chamber. In the center was a tall glass pod, and inside it was a woman, floating, asleep, perfectly still. Rayan stepped closer. No way. She looked human. Her skin was pale gold. Her hair floated around her like silver threads. She wore a dark robe covered in the same glowing symbols. Her hands were folded on her chest. She looked peaceful, like she'd been waiting. Suddenly words appeared on the pod. Princess Elira. Status. Stasis. Awakening. Authorized. She's the one calling me, Rayan said softly. Karn let out a low sound, something between a purr and a growl. He walked up to the pod and touched it gently with his claw. And then, it happened. The pod hissed. Steam escaped. Lights blinked. Slowly, the glass slid open. Rayan stepped back, hand on his knife just in case. The woman's eyes opened. Bright violet. Glowing. She gasped for air, looked around, and then stared straight at Rayan. You're human, she said weakly. You're not supposed to be here. Before he could answer, Karn stepped forward. Her eyes widened. Karn, she whispered. You survived. Rayan blinked. You know him? She nodded slowly. He was bred to protect the royal bloodline. He is the last of the Apex Sentinels. And he chose you? She looked at Rayan again. Then maybe, just maybe, we still have a chance. Suspense twist. Before Rayan could ask what she meant, the chamber shook. Explosions. Alarms. Outside, something was landing. Princess Elira stood up, weak but focused. They found me. We don't have much time. Who? Rayan asked. The Zentari, she said. If they capture me, humanity is next. Rayan looked at Karn, then at the princess. Whatever he had walked into, it was much bigger than just survival now, and he wasn't walking out alone. The hidden royalty underground chamber shook again. Dust fell from the ceiling. Red lights flashed along the curved metal walls. Deep mechanical sounds echoed through the tunnel behind them, like heavy machines waking from sleep. Princess Elira held onto the pod for balance. Her breathing was fast. Her skin, once pale gold, had started to glow slightly. A soft light under her skin. Rayan stood between her and the tunnel entrance, holding his laser knife. Beside him, Karn crouched, low, his muscles tense, growling in the direction of the noise. They've found us, Elira said again, louder this time. We have to leave, now. Who are they? Rayan asked, stepping closer. Zentari. Warlords. Killers. They destroyed my people, she said, eyes fierce. Now they want to finish the job. Before Rayan could ask more, the tunnel. Door behind them burst open, smoke filled the air. 3 tall figures entered. Not human, not alien in any usual way. Tall black armor, insect-like helmets, glowing red eyes, and long weapons crackling with energy. Zentari soldiers. Rayan's heart pounded. They raised their weapons and fired. But Karn moved first. The apex beast exploded into action, leaping across the room like a shadow. His claws tore through the first soldier's chest, metal and sparks flying everywhere. Rayan tackled Elira to the ground as a plasma bolt zipped overhead. He rolled, pulled out a stolen blaster from his belt, and fired back. 2 shots hit the wall. The third hit a Zentari in the leg, making it stumble. Elira whispered something in a strange language, and the metal walls around the pod glowed brighter. The third Zentari fired again, this time at Rayan. But a metal plate rose from the floor and blocked the shot. Rayan looked at her. Did you do that? Partially, she said, standing up with shaky legs. This place responds to my blood, but it's fading. I was asleep too long. Karn finished off the last enemy with a crushing roar. His chest was bleeding from a burn, but he stood tall. Elira touched his face gently. You protected the last heir. Again, she said softly. But we're not safe yet. They ran through a side tunnel lit by blue veins in the walls. The sound of more Zentari forces echoed behind them. Rayan held his blaster tight. Karn moved ahead like a silent shadow. Elira kept close behind, whispering to the walls, opening hidden doors, unlocking paths no outsider could ever find. Rayan turned to her. How do you know all this? She looked at him. This place was built by my ancestors. It's called the Cradle. It holds secrets and weapons that should never fall into enemy hands. Then why were you asleep in that pod? I was hidden here during the fall of our empire. They thought it would be safer if I slept until the time came, or until someone like you found me. Rayan frowned. Someone like me? Elira stopped in front of a sealed chamber door. Glowing symbols hovered over it. A protector with the heart of mercy, she whispered, and the will to fight. The door opened. Inside was a circular room with holograms of stars, planets, and ancient battles floating in the air. At the center stood a control pillar. Elira touched the pillar. The room lit up. A deep voice echoed, not from a person, but from the room itself. Royal bloodline confirmed. Princess Elira. Planetary defense systems offline. Override locked. Emergency protocols active. Rayan looked around, amazed. This is a war room? No, she said, turning toward him. This is a vault. The last command center of my people, and if we activate it, the Zentari will do anything to stop us. Karn stood near the entrance, ears alert. Suddenly, the pillar glowed red. Warning, enemy signals detected. Airstrike. Inbound in 3 minutes. Rayan's heart dropped. They're going to bomb the whole site. Elira looked at the controls. Her hands moved fast. There's one escape route, but it only opens with 2 living codes. Mine, and the Sentinels. Karn stepped forward and placed his claw on the glowing symbol. The door behind them opened, but the tunnel beyond was not empty. A man stood there, tall, armored, human. Rayan, the man said, lowering his rifle. You're alive? Rayan's eyes widened. Captain Voss? His old squad leader. The man he thought was dead in the crash. But something was wrong. Voss's armor was too clean, too new, and the way he smiled, it wasn't friendly. Small galaxy, huh? Voss said. And look what you found. The missing princess, the alien dog, the lost vault. Rayan took a step back. How do you know all this? Voss raised a device. A Zentari emblem glowed on it. Because I work for them now. Elira gasped. Traitor, Karn roared. Voss raised his rifle. Stand down. Give me the girl, or everyone dies. Rayan raised his blaster, hands shaking. You won't touch her. Cliffhanger ending. Before anyone could fire, the ground shook again, stronger than before. A loud crack echoed above them. The ceiling split open. Something enormous moved in. The shadows above the chamber, something neither Zentari nor human. Elira looked up, her voice full of fear. They've awakened, the Forgotten. Rayan's eyes went wide. What the hell is the Forgotten? The answer would change everything. The hunters become the hunted. The ground trembled beneath their feet. Dust fell from the cracked ceiling. Strange roars echoed from above, deep, ancient, and angry. Rayan stood frozen, eyes locked on the shattered ceiling above the vault. Shapes moved in the darkness. Massive shapes. The kind that didn't belong in any living memory. Karn growled low, tail stiff, claws digging into the floor. Captain Voss stepped back, suddenly pale. For a moment, even the traitor didn't seem so confident. What is that? Rayan whispered. Princess Elira didn't answer at first. She was staring up with wide, frightened eyes. They were supposed to be myth, she whispered. The forgotten, ancient guardians created by my ancestors. They were built to protect the planet from invaders. But something went wrong. They turned on their makers. Above them, a giant eye opened in the ceiling. It blinked once, glowing green and full of fire. And now, she said, they are awake again. The eye vanished. A crash followed. Stone shattered. A metal claw the size of a truck slammed down into the vault entrance. Everyone scattered. Karn grabbed Elira by the cloak and pulled her to safety. Rayan dove behind a control station as sparks flew. Captain Voss tried to run for the tunnel, but the wall collapsed in front of him. He was trapped, and screaming. You brought this on yourself, Rayan shouted as he helped Elira to her feet. The massive machine dropped into the chamber. It was part living, part machine, a mix of bone, armor, and old tech. Like a god from another age, 6 legs, claws that could crush tanks, eyes that scanned everything, a forgotten guardian. It roared. The sound shook the air, but something strange happened next. It looked at Elira and paused. She stepped forward slowly. "You know me," she said. "You remember my blood." The guardian lowered its head slightly, like a wild beast recognizing its queen. Ryan's mouth fell open. "Did you just command it?" "No," Elira said softly. "I asked, and it listened. For now." They didn't wait. Elira gave one last glance at Voss, who was now crawling away, too injured to fight. "Leave him," Ryan said coldly. They climbed onto the guardian's back. Karn leapt up with them. With a deep growl, the giant machine beast started moving. It opened a new exit with its claw, smashing through old walls and tunnels, heading toward the surface. As they rose from the underground, the jungle came into view. But it wasn't peaceful anymore. Centauri dropships filled the sky. Alien troops marched through the trees. Search drones buzzed like insects. They were looking for the princess, but now the hunters were being watched themselves. The guardian moved fast through the forest, destroying trees in its path. Elira guided it with soft voice commands. Rayan stayed alert, blaster ready. And Karn stayed close to them, always watching the skies. They stopped at the edge of a cliff. From there, they saw it all. A Centauri command base, massive, built fast with alien machines, tanks, turrets, and ships, and at the center, a strange tower, pulsing with dark energy. Elira's face turned pale. "That tower is a signal," she said. "If they activate it, they'll call the fleet. And once the Centauri fleet comes, this planet, and the whole human colony system, will burn." Rayan clenched his fists. "Then we destroy the tower." "We can't just walk in," she said. "It's guarded by tech that blocks my abilities, and Karn can't get through their force fields." Rayan nodded slowly. "Then we don't walk in." Later that night, under heavy rain, Rayan snuck into the base alone. Elira and Karn waited in the trees. The Guardian stayed hidden under camouflage tech. Rayan wore Centauri armor he had taken from a dead soldier. His face was hidden. In his hand was a fake ID chip, hacked by Elira using ancient codes. He passed the first gate. No one noticed. Inside, the base was full of noise and movement. Aliens shouted orders. Machines roared. Rayan kept walking, heading straight toward the tower, but something didn't feel right. Too quiet. Too easy. Then he saw it. At the tower entrance stood Voss, alive, armored, and smiling. "I knew you'd come," Voss said. Guards surrounded Rayan. "You really thought I'd let the princess escape?" Voss laughed. "She's the last of her kind, and she's the key to everything. With her blood, the Centauri can control the forgotten and wipe out every world that resists." Rayan was silent. Then he said, "You forgot one thing." "What's that?" Voss asked. "I didn't come alone." A loud roar shook the base. From the trees, the Guardian charged, faster than anything its size should move. Centauri soldiers screamed. Turrets opened fire, but their shots bounced off its armor. Karn leapt from the shadows, claws glowing with energy, tearing into enemies like paper, and Elira walked calmly through the storm, her hands glowing, her eyes full of fury. Voss raised his rifle, but Rayan was faster. He punched the traitor to the ground and fired 3 shots, disabling the force field around the tower. "Elira!" he shouted. She ran forward, touched the tower, and whispered a single command in her language. The tower began to melt, breaking apart from the inside. The sky above changed. The Centauri ship started falling. Without the signal, they lost control. The invaders began to retreat. Some fled. Others were captured by the Guardian and the forest beasts it had awakened. Elira stood beside Rayan, rain washing the blood from her hands. "You were right," she said softly. "We don't run anymore." Now. They do, closing suspense, but as the smoke cleared, Rayan looked up and saw something new. A black shape in the sky. Not Centauri, not human, bigger, older, watching. He turned to Elira. What now? She stared into the sky, eyes wide. Now, we face the ones even the Centauri feared. The betrayal, the jungle was silent again, but it wasn't peace. Not yet. The battle was over for now. The Centauri tower lay in ruins. The sky was no longer burning and their ships had scattered like insects. But everyone in the forest knew it was only the beginning. Rayanne stood on the edge of the ruined battlefield watching the sky. The black shape still hovered high above the clouds, silent, unmoving, but not gone. It didn't attack. It didn't speak. It simply watched. Beside him, Elira knelt over a fallen Centauri soldier. She reached out with her fingers, closed the creature's eyes, and whispered something in her ancient language, a word of farewell or maybe regret. Karn circled the area, scanning for danger. His wound later that night, they took shelter inside the ruins of a stone temple, overgrown, half-collapsed, and hidden under vines. The walls inside glowed with ancient tech. Small stars floated in the air, echoes of the old empire that once ruled this planet. Rayan sat by the fire, his blaster close. He hadn't slept properly in days, and something was bothering him, more than enemies, more than machines. Voss. The betrayal still burned in his chest. He was our captain, Rayan said quietly, staring into the flames. He trained us, fought beside us, and then he sells out humanity for power? Elira didn't answer at first. She sat across from him, arms folded around her knees. Finally, she spoke. Power does strange things to people, she said softly. Even the ones who once had good hearts, especially them. Karn let out a low growl as if he agreed. Rayan looked up. He wanted you. Why? Because of my blood, she said, and what it unlocks. She stood and walked to the wall, touching one of the floating stars. It lit up, showing a map of systems across the galaxy. Some human, some alien, some dark and dead. Long ago, she began, my ancestors discovered a source of energy so powerful it could build worlds, or burn them. They used it to create the Guardians, gone like Karn and the machines in the vault. But the energy came with a cost, a bond. It only answers to my bloodline. Rayan stood up slowly. So whoever controls you, controls all of it. Elira nodded. Which means I'm not just a princess, she said. I'm a weapon. As dawn approached, Rayan woke to the sound of footsteps outside the temple. He rose, weapon in hand, and signaled Karn silently. The apex beast vanished into the shadows. A moment later, someone stepped into the doorway. A human soldier, tired, limping, armored, alone. Rayan, the soldier said. It's Lieutenant Harris, from your old squad. I thought you were dead. Rayan stared. I thought you were dead. They embraced briefly. It felt real. The first familiar face in a sea of madness. Harris looked around the temple. You've been busy. Where's the rest of your unit? Rayan asked. Harris hesitated. Gone. Ambushed by Centauri patrols. I've been surviving on rations and luck. Rayan believed him. Mostly. Until he noticed something strange. The exact same model of wrist chip Voss had used. Custom Centauri tech, small. Easy to miss. Elira saw it too. She said nothing, but her body shifted slightly, ready to move. Rayan felt it. The change in the air. How long were you following us? He asked, voice suddenly sharp. Harris froze. Rayan, listen. Too late. Karn tackled him from behind, claws pressed against his neck. Harris didn't fight. He simply held up his hands. You don't understand. I didn't betray you, not like Voss. I had no choice. Rayan aimed his blaster. Then explain before I count to 3. Harris swallowed hard. They have a new leader now. Not Centauri. Something worse. Something older. The one in the sky. Elira stepped forward. Her voice was cold. You mean the Watcher? Harris nodded slowly. That thing, it speaks through machines, through dreams. It promised Voss power, and it gave him more than you know. He's not fully human anymore. Rayan narrowed his eyes. Then what is he? Harris looked up, shaking. He's becoming one of them. Suspense twist. Elira gasped and fell to her knees suddenly, clutching her head. Rayan ran to her. Elira? Her voice shook. He's inside, trying to speak to me, through the bloodline. In her mind, she heard Voss's voice, twisted, deep, layered with something alien. You can't run, Elira. I know where you are. I see through the forgotten. I am their voice now. Your protector will fall. Your human will kneel. And you will open the gate. She screamed. The ground beneath the temple began to glow. Symbols on the wall flared red, not blue. Karn roared. What's happening? Rayan shouted. Elira opened her eyes. He's activating an ancient gate, a portal. He's trying to bring something through, something not meant for this world. Rayan turned to Harris. How do we stop it? Harris stared in horror. You don't. Final suspense. Outside the temple, the sky cracked open. The black shape above the clouds began to descend, slowly like a falling god. Lightning flashed behind it. No engines, no sound, just presence. And from the forest, Centauri soldiers rose again, not dead but reborn. Their bodies twisted, armor fused to flesh, eyes glowing black. Rayan stepped in front of Elira, aiming his blaster. Then we make our stand right here. But Elira shook her head. No, not here. She placed her hand on the wall. The floor beneath them shifted, revealing an ancient elevator. We go to the final cradle, the heart of the forgotten, the place even the Centauri never dared enter. Rayan looked at her. And what's there? She met his eyes, fierce and afraid. The truth, and the weapon that can kill a god. The protector rises, the ancient elevator shook as it descended into darkness. Stone walls passed around them, marked with strange symbols glowing faint blue. It was like sinking into the heart of a forgotten world. Rayan stood close to Elira, his blaster ready. She looked pale, her hands trembling. Whatever had touched her mind, the voice of Voss, now something more, had left its mark. Karn stood silently at the front of the platform, eyes locked forward, body tense like a spring, ready to snap. Something deep inside him had changed. His breathing was slower, heavier. His eyes glowed brighter. And then the elevator stopped. The door opened with a long hiss, revealing a massive underground city. No jungle. No roots. Only glowing towers, floating platforms and silence. Like a tomb made of light and steel. This is it, Elira whispered. The final cradle. They walked slowly through the ruins. Glowing drones hovered in the air, scanning them but not attacking. They passed statues of guardians, broken and rusted. Everything felt ancient and waiting. Rayan looked around. How is all this still working? My people built with purpose, Elira said. This place was hidden from even our own kind. A final weapon, a last resort. We never thought we'd need it. They reached a circular chamber at the center. The walls rose high, covered in writing no one had spoken in centuries. In the middle stood a console. Above it floated a small crystal, pulsing with light. Elira approached it. This crystal is the source. It holds the code of life and death. If I link with it, I can command the last weapon, but there's a cost. Rayan frowned. What cost? My life, she said softly. The room went cold. Before Rayan could speak, an alarm sounded. Red. Lights flashed through the city. They were found. Centauri dropships burst through the underground ceiling, cutting through steel and stone with black beams. Soldiers dropped in, armed, fast, silent. But they were different now. Their faces were fused with armor. Their bodies no longer bled. They were not Centauri anymore. They were part of him. Voss had arrived, and he was no longer just human. From the largest ship stepped a figure cloaked in black metal. A human shape, tall, strong, but wrong. His skin was pale, his eyes empty. Veins of light ran under his flesh like circuits. Rayan raised his blaster. Voss. Rayan, the voice replied, deeper than before. You could have ruled with me, instead you chose extinction. You chose to become a slave, Rayan shouted back. A puppet of something you don't even understand. Voss smiled, or at least his face tried to. You're right. I don't understand it. I am it. He raised his hand. Zentari. Soldiers moved in. Karn roared. He launched forward like a missile, tearing into the front line. His claws glowed with energy, powered by the ancient cradle. He moved faster than any apex ever had, like something awakened. He was no longer just a protector. He was the last weapon of the old world. Voss snarled and sent a beam of black energy at him, but Karn blocked it with his body, sliding across the floor, then leaping into the air and smashing two enemies with one strike. Rayan opened fire, fighting side by side with Karn, ducking and dodging behind fallen machines. Elira moved toward the crystal, whispering the ancient codes as she did. The room shook with every explosion, but they couldn't hold the line forever. Suddenly, a twist. Elira stopped in front of the crystal. Her hands trembled. Blood ran from her nose. I can't do it, she said. It's too much. It's tearing my mind apart. Rayan turned to her. Then let me. You're not bonded, she said. You'll die instantly. Then Karn landed beside them, wounded, bleeding. But he stood tall, and then he spoke, not with a voice but with thought. Bond, through me. Rayan stared, shocked. You can speak? Elira's eyes widened. The Sentinel's final command, a triad bond. Human, royal, guardian. The perfect link. Karn knelt, placing a claw on the ground. Rayan looked at Elira. Are we doing this? She nodded. Together. They each touched the crystal. Light exploded. The chamber was filled with sound, visions, memory, ancient wars, fallen empires, a galaxy crying out for balance. Rayan felt his blood burn, but he didn't let go. Elira's voice echoed in his mind. Hold on to me. Karn's presence surrounded them, protective, fierce. The bond was formed, and something inside the cradle awoke. A new force flowed into Karn. His body changed. Armor grew across his back. His claws extended. Wings of light unfolded from his sides. He stood taller now, a beast built not just to defend, but to destroy gods. The protector had risen. Voss stepped forward, furious. You think that will save you? He growled. You don't even know what's coming. Karn didn't speak. He simply leapt, smashing through Voss's shield, knocking him back into a wall. Rayan and Elira moved behind him, now connected through the bond. Their thoughts won. Their strength multiplied. The battle turned. Zentari. Soldiers fell back and the black ship above began to crack. Something inside it screamed. Not a voice but an ancient intelligence. Now in pain. Now afraid. For the first time, the enemy feared them. Ending cliffhanger. As Voss crawled from the rubble, broken but not dead, he spoke one final message. You think you've won? He said, coughing blood. You've only opened the door. He looked at Elira, smiling through shattered teeth. The forgotten weren't the first. They were the jailers. And now, the prisoner is free. Far above them, beyond the black clouds, a crack opened in space. A voice unlike anything before whispered through the stars. I am coming. The last stand. The sky was broken. Above the jungle. Above the shattered cradle, a dark crack split open in space. Lightning spun around it. Stars seemed to bend, pulled toward the center like they were afraid. And from the crack, something was coming. Not a ship, not a being. A presence. Ancient, patient, pure will. Something that had waited in the void long before the Zentari, before the Guardians, even before the royal bloodlines. And now, it was free. Rayan stood beside Elira on a cliff, overlooking the jungle battlefield below. Fires still burned, Wreckage from Zentari ships lay everywhere. The ground was torn apart. Behind them stood Karn, no longer just an apex sentinel. His body was armored in light and steel, his eyes like twin suns. He stood still, breathing slow, waiting for the final order. They had formed the triad bond. Together, human, guardian, and royal had awakened the final weapon of the cradle. But now the final enemy was something else. Something older than war. "What is that?" Rayan asked, his voice low. Elira stared up, eyes full of fear. "They called it the sleeper," she said. "My ancestors only mentioned it in whispers. It was sealed in the space between worlds, beyond light, beyond time. They didn't kill it. They couldn't. So they buried it." Rayan looked at her. "And now we've dug too deep." "No," she said. "Voss did. We just lit the match he handed us." Suddenly, the crack widened. A shape slid through. Massive, slow, smooth. Like a moon, but alive. Made of black stone and swirling red veins, with hundreds of mechanical arms wrapped around its surface. It had no mouth, but it spoke, not with sound, but directly into their minds. "I am the end." Soldiers on both sides, Zentari and human, fell to their knees, clutching their heads. Some screamed, others stopped moving altogether. The sleeper fed on fear. Voss stood among the ruins, laughing, his body half broken, bones exposed, yet still alive, kept breathing by the sleeper's will. "This is what power looks like," he shouted to the sky. "This is what the gods feared." Rayan aimed his blaster. "You don't even know what you've released." Voss turned slowly, smiling. "It doesn't matter, I'll be its voice and you'll be dust." But before he could speak again, Karn moved. The guardian charged, claws glowing with firelight. His roar split the air. He slammed into Voss, crushing him against a jagged wall of stone. No scream, no sound, just silence. Rayan stared. "It's done," he whispered, but Elira shook her head. "No. Now it begins." As the sleeper descended, its shadow covered the land. Every tree died. Rivers turned black, the ground cracked. Animals fled. The stars vanished from the sky. Elira fell to her knees. The cradle's last weapon wasn't Karn. Rayan knelt beside her. "Then what is?" She reached into her cloak and pulled out the core crystal, the same one that had activated the triad bond. "This crystal holds the will of the first protector, the only being who ever touched the sleeper and survived." Rayan helped her stand. "What do we do with it?" Elira looked at Karn. "We send it through him, and we go with it." Rayan froze. "You mean?" "Yes," she said. "We have to enter the sleeper, not to destroy it, but to speak to it, to remind it what it once was, a guardian of balance, before it lost itself to time and madness." Rayan clenched his fists. "That thing doesn't want peace, it wants to erase everything." Elira stepped closer. "Then we show it why humanity fights, why we protect, why we hope, even in the dark." Karn lowered himself, opened his back, a space inside, like a chamber. A transport system only used by royalty and bonded warriors. Rayan looked at Elira. "We might not come back." She smiled softly. "That's why it must be us." Final journey. They entered Karn's back. The chamber closed. He spread his wings, glowing, burning, rising into the sky like a star being born. He flew straight toward the sleeper. As they approached, reality twisted. Colors shifted. Time slowed. Space folded. Inside, Rayan saw images of Earth, of children playing, of stars being born, of wars, of love, of silence, the soul of the galaxy. And then, they entered the sleeper. Inside was darkness, endless, cold, but at the center, a heart, pulsing, silent. Elira stepped forward and held out the crystal. "You are not alone," she whispered. Rayan touched her shoulder. You are not forgotten. The sleeper shook. Its voice changed. No longer thunder, but a whisper. I remember. And then... light. The sleeper stopped moving. Above the world, the crack in space began to close. Slowly, gently, the stars returned. Epilogue. Weeks later, the jungle bloomed again. Rivers flowed clean. The Zentari vanished, broken, leaderless, scattered to the edges of space. A small fire crackled under the stars. Rayan sat by it, armor worn, eyes calm. Across from him, Elira smiled. Alive, changed, glowing faintly. Not just royal anymore, part of something greater. And beside them, Karn, watchful, silent. But now, at peace. Rayan looked up at the stars. We faced gods, and we're still here. Elira nodded. That's the human way. Humanity. Yeah. Rayan said, smiling. The fire burned brighter.